Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus pilot, and in today's video we are finally going to fly the iniBuilds A320neo once again. You heard right, it is back. It's just been added back to the beta of Microsoft Flight Simulator Sim Update 15 yesterday evening, and today we are going to take it from lovely Innsbruck over to Vienna, which is going to be a short 50-minute flight. Now, the iniBuilds A320, as you might recall, was held up by some copyright issues that were found shortly prior to the original intended release on Sim Update 14, but seeing that it's back in the program, I can very much imagine that those issues are solved now, and I do hope that Fly-by-Wire got their fair share, because it was Fly-by-Wire code that was found in there. But assuming that all of those problems are solved, at least we didn't hear any protests from the Fly-by-Wire team in public anymore. Assuming that all of those problems are solved, let's head right into our cockpit and make our flight towards Vienna. Now, it's been a little while since I've flown this airplane, and since it was only available for such a short time back in the day, I don't really remember it very well anymore, so I kinda see this as sort of a first flight with it. Seeing that I only touched it for about a week or so, now it's been unavailable for a couple months at a time, so we are basically sitting in a brand new aircraft for me. So that is the way how I'm going to judge it as well. Now, I don't know how many things have changed. Maybe some code was exchanged, maybe not. Maybe they used some of the time to do some new developments. I don't know. I don't care. I'm just going to hop into it and fly it right out of the box. So we're going to start maybe with a little bit of configuration stuff, because obviously that is something that we always want to do when we join a new aircraft. I'm sure you're well aware of this particular little format over here, the iniBuilds EFB, looking rather familiar if you've flown the A310 or the A300. Now, keeping in mind that this is going to be an airplane that is going to be included in the base simulator, I do expect it to be a little bit less sophisticated than the version that iniBuilds has released on their own A300. Now, let's go right to the dashboard and download our latest SimBrief flight plan. And here it is, from Innsbruck to Vienna. Now, the weather is looking good everywhere, as you can see. We also got the opportunity to search for some weather down there. Operational flight plan is located just up here, and then we do have some ground services tab. So how about we go right into that, and we do just open up a couple of the doors down here. Now, from here on, let's have a look what else do we got. We got payload tab up here, which we can just synchronize with SimBrief. Yes, we can. Very nice. Okay, we are just going to take a little bit more fuel, make that 4,500, because we are flying to the Vienna overload event here in Vatzen. So it is rather early at the time where I am loading, or where I'm flying this, but nonetheless, we just want to be on the careful side here. Alright, what else do we got? Panel state, well, we are going to keep it just over there. Takeoff calculator, and then finally some options. Now, going into the options might be the important thing here. I did do a little bit of presetting, like inserting my SimBrief username, my units, IRS alignment, time realistic, link captain and first officer instruments. We got to play a little bit with those tiller options. I do remember they could cause a couple of troubles. And then down here, let's go into the throttle settings, a quick look at that. So reverses and axis, no. Now let's go ahead and calibrate those throttles. I'm going to start right down here. This is the this is the idle position. Let's go for that and bring it all the way up into the climb detent, the flex and MCT detent, and finally the toga detent. Alright, perfect. So we're going to keep him just over there. Now let's have a look into what that looks like. I'm just playing around with my Honeycomb. Well, it looks rather hard to me to actually get those throttles into the detents. Can we do anything about that? Is there anything like set a certain detent size, begin calibration, set idle thrust? Yeah, okay, we've done that, basically. Interesting that we are seeing it twice, though. Okay, climb thrust, MCT, toga, so it's literally just guiding us through the same options that we had. What would be rather nice is if we had the option to set those detents a little bit greater. Because I have a feeling it's going to be rather hard to get the thrust levers into the correct positions. But we will have a look into that. Alright, so close that off, and that is the options that we do have available in here. So it is very good that we can import SimBrief data straight out of the box. Now, let's see how that is going to continue to evolve. Okay then, let's go ahead and start our airplane setup, and we're going to start with the basic safety checks here. So engine masters off, mode selector, norm, and the weather radar. Look at how we got a different weather radar here than what we had on other Airbus simulations that we do have available, and this is a more modern one that we have over here. Probably a better version of a weather radar for the sim, because this one is an all-electronic one. I am going to comment a little bit about that when we are in flight later on. But the most important thing here, it is turned off. Okay, so then the landing gear lever is down, the wiper selectors are off, and the battery voltage is greater 25.5. Alright, let's turn it on then. So that's the startup sounds that we heard over here. I do hope you can hear them rather well in the video, but you should. Okay, so the airplane has started up. Then let's go ahead and do some of the basics. Fuel decision, just to confirm that again. By the way, interesting that you can only use the arrow keys here to stroll around. You cannot just click and drag it. But anyway, looking into here, Vienna is looking good, but it is getting rather interesting throughout the day. If you're watching this one on the day where I released the video on Saturday, 23rd of March, and you do like to fly in VATSIM and you are experienced with, let's say you are experienced with busy traffic, fly to Vienna. Look at that wonderful forecast over here. That's going to be interesting. Especially the thunderstorms and the gusts and everything. Alright, so anyway, for the time where we are flying, as you can see, it's rather early in the morning, and we do have good weather for our arrival time. And the same goes for alternate Linz, where the weather is going to come in, well, in about 2 hours' time, so Linz is still okay at that time. I mean, the gusts are more or less down the runway, are they? Okay, so yeah, if we take the 4.5 tons that we have loaded already, that should be, that should give us 15 minutes extra. I am totally happy with that. Alright, cool. Then, our airplane has booted up. Let's go ahead and do the fire tests. That is looking good, and then we can go ahead and start up our APU as well so that we can get some air conditioning going. Alright, here we go. I am going to leave the RMPs off for now, but let's just bring the speaker up a bit. And yeah, Unicom active frequency, so be it. But tell you what, I'm just going to select something entirely different so that we do not get radio calls in the meantime while we're still preparing. Okay, so ADRS 1, 2, and 3 going to nav mode, and then we can go ahead set up our cockpit lights. So I'm just going to turn them all off because we don't need them down here on the ground, and we want to see what the actual textures look like and not the textures of the lights. Okay, so that is looking good. Then we have initialized our EFB already, so let's now do the aircraft acceptance. Okay, hold the recall button for 3 seconds. 21, 22, 23. Showing normal. We have nothing in the logbook. The aircraft configuration is a standard A320neo, and we don't have any OEBs published. So with that, our aircraft is accepted for flight. Then let's go ahead and start grabbing a bit of our data. So let's go into the ATSU. Okay, username in here, I do suppose that is Hoppy. Let me just add 3393. But okay, looks like there's not all that much that we can do in here. Yeah, that gotta be Hoppy over here. Okay, so apart from that, we don't seem to have a lot of options in here though. So can't link it to SimBrief apparently. Well, then we are just going to go ahead over here. So A320-200 active database. Let's go on initialization and request that. Error downloading data. Okay. Oh, I do seem to remember that someone said on the videos I created in the past that you need to insert your SimBrief username in there. But now it's got to be funny. In order to insert my SimBrief username, I need an underscore, because my username includes an underscore between my names. But we don't have an underscore on the keyboard here, so I cannot insert my username. So it looks like they didn't solve that bug ever since. But okay, so be it. We'll just have to live with it as it is. Let's go ahead with our takeoff performance over here then. It's probably gonna be a runway 26, I suppose. But let's just synchronize that up. And for our takeoff weight, what did we load in over here? So it's 65 tons. So 65 tons, 1 plus F, air conditioning off, anti-ice off, forced hold down no. And here we go. Okay, so that is going to be our takeoff speeds. By the way, can we make that a little bit brighter by any chance? Oh yeah, down here's the key. Awesome, that is better. Okay, so that's going to be our takeoff speeds. 50 degrees flex. I'm wondering if I should just force toggle over here. Here we go. On a short runway with those mountains around, might be the easier option. Okay then, let's go ahead and check our quantities. So, man, that is not a lot, 900 psi. That is really not a lot. We could use quite a bit more oxygen. But okay, so be it. Then, hydraulic quantities are looking good, and the engine oil quantities, let's have a look at that. Turn on the FADEC. Engine oil quantity, that could be quite a bit more as well. Looks like the airplane has not seen service in a little while. Can we do any servicing over here? Not really, huh? No. Okay, well, if we can't service it, then it is sufficient for flight, but I wouldn't dispatch the airplane for an entire day like that. For 1 or 2 sectors, it's going to be okay. Okay, well, so be it. So, flaps are in agreement, and the spoilers are retracted. Okay, cool. Then, I suppose we are just going to go out for the walk-around real quick. So, some of you are still asking me how I do this. I have released a separate video on it, but just go to the drone and use a low drone speed like 3, and rotation speed around 45, that usually works pretty well. Okay, so let's go ahead and start our walk around up here. The livery, by the way, comes from flightsim.to, so it's not an original iniBuilds livery, but it's looking pretty good, isn't it? Okay, so this should be roughly a realistic height for an A320. So static ports are looking good. The AOA vane is looking good up here as well. Then going on to the front, avionics door is closed and latched. Pitot probes looking good. The TAT probes down here are not damaged as well, and the static port in the front is good. Then let's go ahead and have a look at the connector panel for the external power. That is actually modeled rather well, I have to say. Alright then, moving up to the nose gear. Everything is looking good, no sign of any damages or anything the likes. And pretty high quality modeling that we can find over here as well. So that is looking rather good. On the other end side then, likewise static port is looking good. The avionics door down here is closed and latched. TAT probe looking good. Pitot probe looking good. And another door closed and latched. How many of those doors do they have here in this airplane? That is so many more than on the A330. Alright, static port's looking good. Quick look into the cargo compartment. And yeah, well, there is a little bit of detail, could be a little bit more, but overall, looking good. Okay then, coming up to our LEAP engines, and well, they are windmilling at the moment, so not all that much we can do. But something you can see pretty nicely on here is the bypass ratio around the engine versus the amount of air that goes through the core. This is a ratio of like 8 or something the like, so it's really, really good. Probably even more than 8. Okay, so engine itself looking good. The latches down here are closed so that our cowlings aren't going to fly away. And then looking at the leading edge of the wing, everything is fine over here. I should have turned the lights on before going out, but so be it. Alright then, let's go further forward. The back of the engine is looking good. Well, that's interesting. Where did all those... Look at those pipes over here. When we're getting close up, they vanish. That's interesting. And then there's parts just flying around in the air. Very interesting. Well, at least the tire condition is good. I don't know if they included those features of the A300 here. Okay, so our brake wear indicator pins looking good as well. They are not flush. Then let's go ahead and go further aft. Quick look into the cargo compartment. In the real world you couldn't do that. The A320 is too high in order to just jump in and have a look. But nonetheless, less noise, less CO2, make change fly. I like it. I really like it. Alright, so looking around the plane over here, something I've not seen yet is an actual outflow valve. Because they should be open on the ground. Let's see, this is the water panel. This is the ship port. Well, interesting. Where's the outflow valve? Doesn't the A320 have one in the back? Or are they located all the way down on the fuselage, like they are on the A330? Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, outflow valve is open. That's fine. On the 330 you'd find them over here, down on the fuselage. That's why I was a little bit confused there. By the way, same thing with the pipes apparently. You can see them show over here, but when we get really close, they just vanish. That's too bad. I do believe that was a bug that the old version had already, so it looks like they didn't use all that time to go ahead and fix it. That's a bit of a pity there. Alright then. Well, let's check the rest of the wing, and then we're done with the walk around, and we can go ahead inside and start preparing again. Okay, so look at the aft part of the engine, looking good. Quick look below the engine, no scratches. And look into the engine. Well, it's windmilling, so we can't check all that much, but overall seems to be looking good. Alright, so that much about our A320. It's a good looking model, I really have to say that. It is a good looking model, even though with a couple of small bugs, but I'm sure those will be patched in the first patch or two. It's too bad they didn't seem to use the time they had now in order to fix all that stuff. Can we use the sunshade, by the way? Yes. Awesome. Can we also use those on the sides? Yeah. There is no sound attached to them. That's interesting. Okay, so here we go. Well then, let's go ahead and... don't like the looks, by the way. Let's go ahead and start our cockpit preparation procedure. Is there sound attached to this? Yeah, okay, but very, very quiet. Oh well, so be it. Okay then, APU bleed, we'll turn that on. Fueling is completed, so the pumps can go on. Now comes the challenge. Is the battery charger simulated? So let's turn them off and on again. Then we should see the amperage rise. Off and on? Yes, it is! Beautiful! Okay, that's pretty cool. Alright then, engine fire test. Looking good, so Q&H. Let's see, what's the weather looking like? 1007. Here we go. And here we go. Okay, the date is showing correctly, nice. So 1 to 1.5 going in and COM2. Rather important setting over here. Especially with so much air traffic control online. If you do get lost, oh there they can always catch you and bring you back. Alright, weather radar remains off, and there is not all that much that we actually have to set over here. Okay, transponder, let's put in 2000, and we are going to switch it to above, and that leaves us on the FMS. Okay, let's go ahead and start working on it. So, in it, and we are going from Lima Oscar Whiskey India / Lima Oscar Whiskey Whiskey. Unbelievable, I'm programming the flight plan manually. Okay, Lima Oscar Whiskey Lima, Linz is going to be our alternate. Costanex 17, cruising at flight level 290. Okay, so let's see if we can get the ATIS real quick. So that's going to be on 126030. Too bad we don't have the data link capability to simply request it, but interesting. I've dialed it in, I've turned it up, but I don't get any return on VATSIM over here. In fact, my vPilot just is completely grayed out on the comms, like if they weren't turned on. Normally that is what they do when the aircraft power is turned off. The frequencies are registered, but, well, let me restart vPilot real quick. Maybe it's just a vPilot issue. Alright, vPilot is restarted, logging in again. No, I can't hear anything. Does that mean the airplane is not VATSIM compatible? Well, let me see if there are any vPilot shortcuts around to get that working somehow, because it would be a pity if the airplane could not be flown in VATSIM. Okay, I'm just researching that stuff off screen right now. Let me see if I can actually find anything there. So, .commands. Well, let's see. Let's try it. .com1. No, it's actively blocked out by the iniBuilds. That's interesting. Let's see what happens if I enter a .command in order to tune the frequency. .com1 128.975. Well, I can tune it, but I can't listen to the frequency. What is that? What if we turn it off and on again? No, it's really actively blocking itself out of VATSIM. How stupid is that, please? What if we put the right-hand side on? So maybe link to the right-hand side. No? It's really blocking itself out of VATSIM. That is unbelievable. That is just unbelievable. Is there anything we've done wrong? Any setup? Anything? Like, vPilot just returns that the comms are not powered up. I mean, the speaker was off by default. Maybe it's related to that. No. It really actively blocks itself out of VATSIM. That is unbelievable. It just sends the command that the comms are not powered to vPilot, it seems. Well, that's a bummer. That is a bummer. That means the airplane is basically useless for anybody who wants to fly online. Well, let me try one thing. Let's go panel state on APU. I've just completely reset my panel state with that. But vPilot is still grayed out. So the plane is not compatible indeed. That's unbelievable. That is really unbelievable. Turns the entire thing obsolete for me. I mean, we are going to finish this flight just for the sake of it, but that really makes the entire airplane useless. Wow. Wow. Especially since we're just a couple days from release. Who would have thought that? Certainly I didn't. Okay, well, suppose we gotta reset all of this. Fly, instant. Well, that means logging out of VATSIM, and we are going to do this flight offline then. Quite unbelievable. Okay, so we're flying offline. That's a real pity. That's a real shame. Like, I don't know what to say right now. Really don't know what to say right now. Because that is just... I don't get it. Like, they had another 3 months now to get that thing working. And what happened? Well, it's broken. You don't see me speechless that often. So, it means something. I'm not gonna cut any of that out, because it would be unfair. So with that, my basic mind is already made up. If anybody asks me, like, which aircraft do I think is better, the fly-by-wire or the iniBuilds? The answer is given with that. It is obviously going to be the fly-by-wire that is better, because that one is capable of flying VATSIM. That's a real shame. That is a real shame. Okay, well, if that's it, then that's it, huh? Not going to bother with an engine outrouting here. Okay, well, that is, it spoils the fun. It really spoils the fun. Have any CG in here? Yeah, zero fuel weight CG 27.6. Constraints deleted above cruise level. Okay. So let's go to the takeoff calculation then. Toga takeoff, and that is using conv 1 plus F. Speeds 30, 30, and 34. Okay, we're going to leave the entire rest of it. It is going to be a toga takeoff. Let's just see about our trim setting. Up 0.7. Okay, so that's our FMS setup completed then. Well, so we don't have charts in this airplane, so we can't do anything to check our routing. Well, obviously we could use the Navigraph app, but can't really be bothered doing that right now. Just going to set some initial climb here, 13,000 or something the likes, and that'll have to do that. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's go ahead and do our departure briefing, and then we are going to make our way offline. What a pity that really is. So prepare for pushback and departure, and how about Innsbruck Airport, please. Okay, yeah, then let's go for the briefing. Still a bit speechless, if I'm honest. Okay, so Takeoff on Innsbruck, runway 26, Rattenberg, 3X-ray departure, climbing 13,000. MSA is 13,000 as well, and extra fuel. Well, we do have some, even though we won't need it now. 14 minutes. Okay, there is no hotspots for the taxi routing. Stop margin is not all that much, but it's not calculated as far as I can see. Limitations, runway length. Yeah, well, we are aware of that. Of course. Okay, engine outset is going to be visual into the valley, then we make a 180 and come back. For return or diversion considerations, well, if we do actually have an engine failure, it might just be an idea to fly out to the north and divert to Munich or Salzburg or something alike, due to our performance coming back. Now, nothing special, nothing non-standard except for the terrain display being inoperative, but looking outside we do have good visuals, so we will be able to see the terrain visually. Okay, any questions? No? Then let's do the cockpit preparation checklist. Gear pins and covers removed. Fuel quantity. Where's my mouse? Here it is. It's 4,480 kilos, and that's balanced. Seatbelts on, ADIRS. Nav, barrel ref, QNH 1007. Cockpit preparation checklist complete. Okay, well, that is a real pity. But that's it. I'm still not completely over it by now. But looks like we can change it. Okay, well, in that case, close all doors. That's a very fast-moving cargo door, I have to say. Okay, so here we are. Can we on the slide somehow? They're probably going to do it themselves, I suppose. So, GSX, how far are you? Let's just hang itself up again. Okay. Thank you for nothing, GSX. And let's just kill the Throttle engine. Oh, it's actually crashed. Okay. So the Throttle engine crashed. Well, I can understand why it doesn't want to fly on this airplane offline. Alright, well, in that case we're going to use the pushback options that we have available here, so let's go for toggle pushback, please. Is there a tug somewhere? Well, I suppose activating GSX has killed the tug. Well, let's see how we're going to get out of this. Alright, so the external power is disconnected already. Transponder goes on auto. Before start checklist, please. Park and brake, set, takeoff speeds and thrust, 130, 130, 134, toga, windows, closed, beacon, on, before start checklist complete. So let's see if we can actually get self the pushback here. Pushback started, park and brake released. Will you? Please? Oh, left works. Now it works to the aft. That's interesting. Did they connect the tuck now? No, they didn't. Alright, well, can live with that. It's not nice, but what can we do, huh? Okay, so let's go ahead and start a turn here to the right and start engine 2. Engine 2 start. We're going to take a closer look at the engine start once we have commenced engine 1 start. Now I just want to get that pushback right over here. Well, that didn't look too bad. Let's stop it over here. And the brake is set. Good sounds, I have to say. Really have to say that. Okay, good start on engine number 2. Let's go ahead and start engine number 1. This time I am just going to take the timing. Now let's have a look at how that engine actually looks like during its startup sequence. So what we're expecting is N2 to rise, then at some point when N2 is, I don't know, maybe around 15-20% or so, we should get oil pressure. It looks like we are getting that rather early in the process. About 25% N2 I am expecting fuel flow. Unless it conducts some motoring, which could very well be the case. I had a feeling that N1 was a little bit high there before fuel was injected. Like N1 was almost at 5%, which is quite a lot. I mean, on most engines that I'm aware of, the N1 is only going to go to like 2 or 3% or something without any fuel in there. So when it's just on the startup, but okay. So startup is certainly going taking a little bit of time, but that is completely normal for the engine. So here we go, that is engine number 1 avail after 1 minute and 14. Fair enough. Alright then, let's go for it. And we have a trim of up 0. Whoa, that reacts quickly. So up 0.7. And then let's go for the after start checklist, please. Anti-ice. Off, ecam status, checked, pitch trim. Let's see, how much is that? 27%, rudder trim, neutral, after start checklist complete. Okay, flight control check. Full up, full down, neutral. Full left, full right, neutral. Rudder, full left, full right, neutral. Okay, let's get taxi. Clear left side and clear right side. So it seems to roll very, very slowly in idle. Look at the nose wheel, you can see it starting to roll. I would expect more if I'm honest. I would expect it to roll a bit better in idle thrust, but that's just based on my experience with the same engines on the 737 MAX. See how slow it goes, still giving us ground speed 0. Well, let's help it a little bit then. Just a tiny bit of thrust there, that should be all we need. 5%. And here we go. That's looking better indeed. I'm not sure how realistic that is, or if we should need a little bit more, or sorry, a little bit less thrust. I mean, we always have to keep in mind we're at 1,900 feet elevation over here, so things aren't going to behave exactly as they do on the ground. But I know from a couple of colleagues flying the MAX into higher altitude airports than this, that it still rolls on idle thrust. So I would kind of expect the A320neo to do the same, since it's the same engine, same static thrust, and similar weights. But okay, so be it. Okay, so I have no changes to the takeoff briefing. Everything stays as it is. Alright then. Looks like we are clear on the approach. I still don't know why there's 2 windsocks over there, but so be it. That's 2 chances for wrong indications then. Okay, clear on the left side, clear on the right side. Let's backtrack. And the cabin is showing ready, that is awesome. Taxi checklist, please. Flight controls, checked. Flap setting, conf 1+F. Radar and predictive wind shear, on and auto. Engine mode cell, norm. ECAM memo, takeoff no blue. Taxi checklist complete. Oh, clear right side. It's just a beautiful airport, Innsbruck, isn't it? Looks like we're going uphill a bit, and look at the speed, how that just really went back by 8 knots. That was quite a bit. How much thrust does it need now? Now it's going a bit downhill again. Let's get that power out before we get too fast. But looks like we actually need a little bit of it. That's fascinating. That's different from what I would have expected. By the way, talk about different from what I expected. Have a look at the middle strut between the windows up there. Shouldn't they actually touch themselves over here? Well, that looks interesting for sure. Also different from what I expected. I mean, this doesn't look like what I'm used to from A320s. Might obviously just be a wrong expectation on my side. I surely won't doubt that. Having to prepare for departure. Line-up checklist. Takeoff runway, 26, full length, TCAS, Tara, PAX 1 and 2. Off. Line-up checklist complete. Okay, ready? That's interesting. Fixed spot seems inverted there. Okay, takeoff. Very quick run-up of the engines there. Mantoga SRS, A-thrust blue. Thrust set. .100 knots. Checked. V1 rotates. Positive climb, gear up. Map, check. There was not a whole lot of space left on the end of the runway. I wonder what would have happened if we just used the 50 degrees flex temperature as the plane suggested. First time climb, A thrust. Pack 1 coming on. So we do have quite a speed restriction on this one. And that's for a good reason if you have a look over what we can see everywhere here around. But I'm wondering what the flight director is commanding there. Like, I'm above the target speed and it still wants me to pitch down. Let's do it for a second, let's see what we're going to get. Just following the flight director here. Well, something I just noticed the entire time already is I need huge sidestick inputs in order to keep my plane flying normally. I really need a lot of input compared to the fly-by-wire or the Phoenix. Now, let me just show you that, and this is far too much. This is really far too much of an input in order for the plane to respond the way it does. See that? Especially on the pitch axis, like this much, literally this much should be sufficient to make the plane pitch at a proper rate. Now, in order to achieve the same rate, I need to do like this on this one. This is far too much. Right, pack 2 off. Yeah, here you go. Which is really something worth mentioning here. Well, let's put on the autopilot, see how that's going to handle. AP1. It certainly flies quite a bit above the commanded speed. It seems to stabilize at the S speed over here, probably because of the flap extension, but that shouldn't happen on takeoff. Okay, we are getting above the mountains now. Class Echo airspace goes to 13,000 here, I believe. So I am going to keep the lights on and the passengers seated anyway. Oh, rainbow over there. Looks like they have quite some bad weather beyond the mountains. Always incredible how much of a difference the appearance of some mountains can really make to the weather. Right, set standard. Standard cross-check passing flight level 164. Oh, sorry, flight level 117. Now, check. Okay, then, going to be interesting to see how it's going to handle that turn. Let's go all the way up to cruising level 290 and see what it's going to do. Man, flying so slow over here. We've already made it out of the valley, but you can nicely see how the procedural design has been made up over here. It's going to be a nice turn right throughout that part of the valley, I suppose. That pretty much looks like what we got up here, exactly through the valley. Remember that you can climb at a lot lesser rate on sits like this. I've looked at the chart to see the exact rate that is required on this one, but sure enough it is going to be not all that much. Imagine flying this one with a Cessna 172 or something that only does a couple hundred feet a minute. Sure enough it is looking beautiful. Or is it actually turning us ahead of the mountain? It does look like it, huh? That we're turning ahead of this bridge even. Okay, target speed is going up, which doesn't make sense. There's a 165 knot restriction on here, on the 08 point. Why is it doing this? Why is it showing us 06 active over here? So it's messed up the waypoints then. Okay, flap 0 before we overspeed them. Well, and obviously due to the increasing speed now, we are drifting outside of the procedure. And how critical that can be, well, just look at this. You can see how close to the mountains we're getting now. So it's not all that much that we've drifted outside the actual procedure. It's 0.6 miles now, but looking outside, we are supposed to be like here, and we are here. So you can see how that can easily turn yourself into a little bit of a squeezed rubbish down there. Well, look at that. It's now sequenced to waypoint 05 rather than 06. And we've drifted a mile and a half off to the right. Obviously, had I limited my speed manually, which is absolutely what we would have done in the real world there, and it is screaming for anti-ice, let's get at that. Had we limited our speed manually, then obviously we would not have had any problem with the track keeping. But I wanted to see where it's going over here, and something that one conclusion that I definitely come to is that it is overshooting the, what is it doing now, by the way? Talk about overshooting, huh? Where is it going? Should be going there. Is it just going in circles now? I mean, it's looking nice, but there should be a little bit more to it. Yeah, it's just going in circles. Wonderful. Just wonderful. I mean, we are clear of the mountains. We don't need to spiral ourselves up anymore. Oh boy. What a shit show this is. First, the VATs and comms don't work. Now it's spiraling itself up. And there was something in the middle that I've forgotten about again. Oh yeah, and it doesn't fly very accurate. Waypoint sequencing. Oh, now it's rolling level. Where is it going now? Let's see. This should be flying a course of about 110 degrees, as we can see. It's flying almost the opposite. It's flying almost exactly the opposite course. Let's see if we can force it with a direct. So, direct to, let's say, Rattenberg. By the way, what is that TCAS target doing here? It's jumping all over the place. I did lock off VATSIM, did I? Oh yes, I did. Yeah, well, at least we're going kinda into the right direction now. Kinda. Or at least we're turning into it. Good thing we kept the seatbelts on. Let's do clear and copy. Nothing in here. Copy active. By the way, I just saw I never selected the microphone as a transmitter. Did that maybe prevent our VATSIM reception? I mean, it should not have an influence on your reception. As long as the knobs down here are up, you need to be able to hear something. You're just unable to speak. Well, let's just log on as an observer and see what we're going to get if I turn this on. Oh yeah, then it works indeed. It's just that that is not how a real A320 works.
19 Quebec, radio speed 18
okay.
knots.
14 knots. Visibility more than 10 kilometers.
I need to give you that V-pilot window. You need to see what it's doing.
Temperature
in order
15.
to understand it. Because this is quite a bug that it comes with. Alright, stand by 1 second. I'm gonna have to edit my recording software here. So let's see, I'm gonna record a window and I want to call that thing V-pilot. So add that to it and give me vpilot.exe. Yes. Alright, so here you go. I did log on as an observer now in order not to disturb any of the air traffic controllers. As you can see, it would have been a very nice coverage, but unfortunately we, well, couldn't connect. Now let me show you the bug that we have with the radio over here. Now, you can see I've tuned in to listen out to both COM1 and COM2. This is the Innsbruck ATIS, this is Innsbruck radar. Now, this is exactly the setup that we use on the ground. You do not select any microphone, so that in case you've got a faulty push-to-talk or you hit it accidentally, remember you've got a push-to-talk down here as well, so if somebody puts a book onto it or something, or an iPad, or a phone, or something, you might accidentally transmit. For that reason, you never select the microphone on which you want to transmit. Now, if I'm selecting something over here, you can see that only tunes me in to COM1, but that is not how it should work. The way it should work is, with this off, you should be able to listen, RX, to that radio. Likewise, with COM2 selected up here, I should also listen to this radio. And this is how you operate the comms in an A320. Now, if I do tune my transmitter on that side, then we all of a sudden hear something on the radios. But look at what that means. It means that when I've selected to transmit on one comm, I can only listen to and transmit on one comm at a time. In other words, how am I supposed to monitor guard frequency? How am I supposed to listen to an ATIS without leaving the active frequency? That's completely messed up. Well, disconnect, I've had that part. That is not at all how a radio on a real-world A320 works. This is just crazy. Not how it's supposed to work at all. Alright then, engine anti-ice off, we're also going to release our passengers here. And we're about to reach our cruising level 290. And look at that, we are still over at Innsbruck. Where is it? Yeah, there it is. We're still almost over it. And we're reaching level 290. That's just a complete shit show, is it? Old stuff. That's really not how it's supposed to work. That is really, really not how it's supposed to work. Old cruise. And this thing is going to release in like, what, 3 days time? Oh boy. They better pull it off the release once again to actually fix all the bugs that it has. Because this is rather unbelievable. I mean, the fly-by-wire is 1,000 times better at this point. Also, have a look at the nav display here and see how it's showing all those airports that just have grass runways in some cases and that just have 500 meters runway. That is not what you should see on the navigation display of an A320. Also look how it can't decide on the speed it wants to fly, whether it should be speed or a Mach number. Beautiful. Oh well, we made it all the way up here, so we kinda gotta get it to the destination, do we? Gonna be interesting for sure. I mean, this is really an early beta. When I'm flying the 777 beta, that is 1,000 times more matured than this. I can say that much. And it was from the first revision onwards. And this is 3 days from release. The 777 is not 3 days from release. Can't comment on how far it is, but you know. Okay, so what do we do then? Give me a VOR displays maybe. Why are they blue? They should be magenta. Unless Airbus changed something in the color logic with the Neos. But I kinda doubt it. Like here, like the NEBs, they're showing magenta as well. Why are the VORs not? Doesn't make much sense. But okay, we are just going to pretend for now. We are just going to pretend because, well, gotta get the flight over somehow. Okay, so let's go right into the FMS. 116 till our Tapa descent. Well, what's the weather looking like at Vienna now? Let's get a look. Vienna update 1508, cavalcade 191005. Like, here we go. Okay, so we are just gonna stick with all of that stuff, even though that didn't really look correct in terms of the constraints we got here. Oh, 164 at that waypoint. Yeah, it just says above 80. What do we have then? Baroque, flat low 170, and that's the upper part of the constraint. Let's have a look. I mean, sure enough, we gotta descend a little bit earlier. This just seems too long for my taste. Let's start right where we come from. Nimal above 90 is okay, Limra above 90, Gamley above 90, and then we got Baroque, level 170 maximum. What does our arrival look like then? Oh, typical Vienna arrival. Do we really want to do it like that? Or shall we just cut it short a bit? Oh, we are probably going to cut it short like this. But we will see about that. For now, I'm just going to leave it like that. And we'll just take the shortcut when the time has come. There is that level 170 restriction in there that basically solves all those problems for us. So we can certainly live with that. By the way, that looks like a rather high speed for me for Costa X17, but let's try Costa X10, should give you 270. No comment. Okay, well, we are just going to continue pretend like nothing happened. Okay, temperature 19, QNH 19 degrees in mid-March. Lovely. and wind 150 at 8. I want 19 degrees now. Alright, I wish I had a minima over here. Well, if we don't have barrel minima because we don't have charts, let's just take 200 radio, that shit would as well. By the way, is it able to take no DH? Yes. I mean, we're a little bit far out to see it over here, but we're just going to take 200 then. Config 3, because I like config 3 approaches. Let's put that in. Auto brake low, and that should hopefully be it. So let's copy that. Performance. It should not have shown up on the go-around page, that much is for sure. Just select full in here. Okay. Oh, look at that. It cannot differentiate between the secondary performance and the active performance. Beautiful. Obviously, they are two completely different flight plans, so when I change the landing config in the active, it shouldn't affect the secondary and the other way around. So look at that. Yeah, it does. Another bug. The flapper wire does all of these things, right? I mean, they stole the VNAV code. Why didn't they also steal the FMS code? Would have made the product better. Alright, I know I'm going to get some hate for that. Probably not going to get a free product in the future, but that's fine. A little bit of weather over there. That looks about right. So still 80 miles to the top of descent. Man. Okay, I tell you what, let's speed up a little bit, because I'm kind of getting fed up with this. I think this is the first time ever in one of my videos that I say, like, let's speed up because I start getting fed up with the airplane. But honestly, that's just what it is. I feel sorry for it, but this is just so buggy. Okay, well, let's try and spend some time with an approach briefing there. Pilot monitoring, it's your turn. MSA would be easier with charts, but we don't have any, so anything about 5 or 6,000, let's say 6,000 is going to keep us safe around Vienna. That should usually be good. We are going to radar vector ourselves for an ILS Approach runway 16. Minimum 200 radio, go-around trajectory. Oh, do we have go-arounds in here? That'll be... Oh, we do. Okay. The go-around trajectory, follow the blue line. Bing. Ah, it fixed itself. That happens. That is realistic. The Airbus just bings at you, and a few moments later, it's just solved itself. That is realistic. Nothing we can blame iniBuilds for. My zoom, however, got stuck. That is not realistic. But that is usually to blame on FS realistic, so let me just kill that. Here we go. And all of a sudden I can zoom again. I haven't had one of those in quite a long time, I have to say. Not sure about the hows or the whys, but I really haven't had one of those in quite a long time. Okay, anyway, let's continue with the briefing. So MSA 6,000 is going to keep us safe. Extra fuel is 14 minutes, plus whatever we're going to save when we just go straight in over here. So we don't have hotspots for plant taxi and stop margin for guidance for the approach is going to be an ILS approach onto 16 using localizer and glide step mode. Config 3 landing, plenty of stop margin there on that runway. It's a very long runway. We will use the reverses just to see if they actually work. Auto brakes low, and planned runway exit is going to be into the immediate direction of the terminal. Don't have any hotspots except that it's a rather busy airport, but we're well familiar with that. Nothing special, nothing non-standard. Do you see any threats? No? Awesome. Well then. Fuel, right wing, low temperature. After such a short flight? Minus 14. What's the problem? I mean, go back a bit to the live stream. Was it really fuel, right wing, low temperature? Because that would absolutely not make sense. The freezing point of Jet A1 is minus 47 degrees. The warning should show up somewhere around minus 40 or so. But we're at minus 14, not minus 40. 1-4 versus 4-0. Even if we had Jet A fuel, which is what you get in the United States, the freezing point of that is minus 40, 4-0. So the warning should, as far as I'm aware, only come up at minus 40. And not at minus 14. Maybe they confused the two numbers. I don't know. In any case, shouldn't be much of a problem. By the way, shouldn't there be an ECAM message for the outer tank transfer? I do believe there should be an advisory over here on the ECAM. For sure there is on the A330 and on some of the smaller Airbuses, but maybe they removed that with the Neo saying, like, yeah, that is normal behavior anyway, so why do we even tell them about it? I do know, though, why they should tell us about it. There is quite a good reason why the A330 does. That's because sometimes these valves can get stuck, and then you might have a transfer taking place, but only on one side, and that obviously can cause quite some issues when part of the weight is shifted inboard, and therefore not only the wing loading gets unequal, which can cause quite some struggle in structural terms, but also the center of gravity of the airplane is obviously going to shift if you move like a ton of weight from far on the outside closer to the inside, but only on one side. By the way, what's also interesting to note over here when looking at the fuel gauges is the amount of fuel that we have in each tank. So it is actively transferring from the outside to the inside, but that seems to go much quicker on the left side than it does on the right, which is interesting. I mean, maybe just started a bit earlier, because the only explanation for that is the fuel used from the APU pre-flight, which should mean that on the left side we should have less fuel in total than on the right side. If we add those up, what are we going to get? 920 plus 420 is 1340, and this is 1380. Okay, so the total numbers make sense. It's just interesting that it's transferring quicker on the left side than it is on the right side. By the way, if we are nitpicking, then we would also complain about the fuel numbers here, because the fuel in the outer tanks is going to cool quicker than the fuel in the inner tanks, because the inner tanks are where the fuel oil heat exchanger is located, and they are just bigger, and for that reason they take a little bit longer for the entire fuel to cool down. So that's just another thing here that is worth mentioning at that point. But okay, not much about the fuel page. Suppose we don't want to even look at that much further. Okay, well, so be it. By the way, also worth noting here, when you do zoom out a little bit, then it should start and simplify the routing. So, as you can see, waypoint names are not shown over here, but it's kind of interesting, because normally the way it does this is that it is going to show you your names closer to the route, and then it's going to remove them at the back of the route, so that we don't see the names on transition over there, completely fine. That we don't see them right in front of us, especially the one with the next constraint on it, seems a little bit strange, if we can call it that way. Also, traffic jumping around in the TCAS is an interesting thing there. But well, just a couple of points here that I do believe are worth pointing out. Okay, so good thing that we took some extra fuel. Let's see how much we actually have along now. 8 minutes. Yeah. Good thing that we did take some extra, because otherwise we would have gotten into trouble by flying those orbits that we did and just watching NAV do its thing on our departure. Which obviously is something that, well, you can, in the real world you would never do. In the sim, sometimes I just find it interesting to see what all those highly sophisticated systems, blah, 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 sometimes just come up with. Oh well, to get into a couple of the more positive points though, I do have to say the model is looking really good. I mean, if fly-by-wire at some point can incorporate their systems into this model compared to the older model, then we are definitely going to see a vast improvement on the airplane, because the cockpit is really looking good. The cockpit is really looking good. A couple of things there. Does the video work? It does. Video in use. Well, that is not what that message should indicate. This message normally... Oh well. I don't care. I don't care. We have just one perspective or several? Just one. Okay. In the real world there are more than this, normally. But okay, fair enough. Also interesting, by the way, is that you've got different colors here on the green. The flap indicator is darker than the others. I haven't seen an Airbus do that yet, even though Airbus displays are sometimes a little bit weak, so I wouldn't be surprised if they did actually have an airplane that did do this when they sampled theirs in the preparation of the development. But I do have to say, comparing the A320 to the A39 to the A310, I'm a little bit disappointed right now. I do hope that that is just the wrong first impression there, but it is my first impression, and correcting a first impression can sometimes be really hard, especially when you got excellent aircraft like the fly-by-wire around, and then of course the Phoenix, which just blows these out of the water. But well, so be it. Let's see, by the way, does the meta search work nowadays? Lens search. Okay, that works. Oh, they do have a bit of weather there already, so we don't want to go there. What's the latest from Vienna? Still good, okay. So in case we do run into any trouble with the go-around or something the likes, we're going to commit to landing in Vienna depending on what the reason for the go-around was. But as long as the weather stays good, we can certainly stay there. Alright, let's go ahead and start our descent. Thrust idle descent. Should easily be able to catch up with the profile there. Especially if we just give it a Mach hold at Mach 0.8. Thrust idle. So let's go ahead and catch the profile. Might have pressed the alt knob a little bit too late, so I'll take that one on myself. I do take the blame for that. Okay, so train display is in up. Fair enough. $360 high. Yeah, it's coming back in already. Easy going. Very easy going. Let's maintain 320 knots. Then we'll go down flat oil 170. Here we go. Flat oil 170 blue. Well. Interesting flight, I have to say. Lots of things that I did not expect. Some things that I did expect. I don't want to draw a too early conclusion because we still have like the most important part of our flight ahead of us with the approach. So I don't want to draw any conclusions just yet, but I did share my first impression already, and I do really think that that was a worthy one. I mean, I've never seen the A310 do things like this. Why can't they just use the code of the A310, which they already have, and implement that into the A320? It would make things so much easier. Well, it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. Okay, so, what are we going to do then? Well, I suppose we just take the shortcut now. Let's do left heading 060. And what is it doing now? Come on, airplane, you can't be serious. Why is it going vertical speed 0? So, when the vertical mode is in descent, and you then turn onto a heading, it should revert to vertical speed. That is correct. What it should absolutely not do is level the plane off. It should maintain the vertical speed that it had previously, so that you basically have a smooth transition onto the new level. But I suppose I might be expecting too much here. Okay, let's go direct 671. By the way, do note radial in and radial out are not available, neither are beam points. Those are basic Airbus functions. So well, we're going to have to manage that descent ourselves, or do we want to give it another chance? I tell you what, let's give it one more chance, just one more. Okay, speed descent nav. Should do 1,000 feet a minute now in order to intercept the path. How much below are we? 2,700. Why is it doing 500? If anybody of you watching this flies a Neo, can you tell me if 500 feet a minute is the correct rate of descent for a Neo? Because all I know about Airbuses is that it should do 1,000 and not 500. Alright, let's go down 10,000. What is the managed speed, by the way? Yeah, 300, that's good enough. Let's go ahead and manage that. And if we're on it already, I'm also going to turn the seatbelt signs on. It's seriously doing 500 feet a minute. That's just interesting. But okay, here comes the profile. By the way, look at that wind. That's supposed to turn like that. When we don't see any difference between ground speed and true airspeed, that suggests to me that the wind indication we get here is not an actual atmospheric disturbance. Not that these wouldn't exist in Microsoft Flight Simulator, there are plenty of them. But that rather suggests a display bug to me. Probably when it's going through the 0 mark here, that it has to turn all the way around 360. Because otherwise, if the wind is 24 knots and you see it wander around like it did on that indication there, that would really cause trouble for you. That would really cause some significant trouble. But okay. Probably just an indication thing when it's going through the 360, respectively 0 mark there. But the feeling that I just get with this, is that it's a real bug fest that we have here. It looks like they didn't use any of the time they had to just rework the airplane. Like, they now had, what, 3 months? 4 months? Something of the likes? Don't recall the exact timing when the 320 was first in the Sim Update 14 beta, but they did really have a lot of time, and it looks like that went completely unused. Like, they just, I don't know, I can just speculate here. Maybe they just gave the code to Microsoft. Microsoft found out, yeah, you pirated stuff from fly-by-wire, so we pull the thing from the update now, and maybe they just didn't let iniBuilds do any further updates in the meantime, and just told them like, nah, it's gonna release like that, and after the release you can continue with updates. Maybe that is what happened, we don't know for sure. But it's just, you know, it leaves a little bit of a bad mark to it, if I'm honest. They had so much time with it, and it is so incredibly buggy at the moment. Just look at the wind arrow wandering around there. But I kind of see my theory confirmed here. It used to be at 0, now it went at 358, so it went all the way clockwise around instead of just going counterclockwise. That would be such an easy fix, you know, but that's sure enough something that beta testers should stumble upon pretty much immediately. But well, who am I to say that? One thing I know for sure, after this landing I'm going right back to the 777 beta. Okay, so let's go down to 4,000, and we're going to intercept, actually 5,000. We're going to intercept from there. Set QNH. QNH 1005 cross-check, passing 12,400. Now, check. Okay, I'm a little bit early, but rather early than late, so let's do these things. NR16 is still correct, the wind is still right down that runway. Keep its primary high accuracy, not select the norm. Okay, approach checklist please. Barrel ref, QNH 1005, seatbelts, on, minimum, radio 200, auto brake, low, engine mode cell, norm. Approach checklist complete. At least this thing works over here. That's something. How can I get rid of it again, though? Here we go. That's the click spot. And look at that. That's quite nice. Even though in the real world they are independent of one another and not linked together, but fair enough. Let's not get overly critical here. I have a feeling that we should be looking at a much lower level of critique than this one. But on the other hand side, the A310 just set rather high standards, which I, would kind of like to see continued here. So, why do we need thrust now? Here we go, thrust idle. Okay, all the way down again. I mean, the outside model is beautiful. I really wish Fly-by-Wire could take the model and the textures from this one, both inside and out, because it is just looking better. We have to be completely honest about that. I mean, it's iniBuilds. We know their models are good. We know their textures are good. So that is not surprising at all. Does look a little bit turbulent here, looking at our airplane, how it's moving left and right. So again, well done on that part. Only wish the avionics had seen a little bit more attention. A beautiful looking model. Look at this. It really is a beautiful looking model. So there's Vienna coming up. By the way, interesting to see where the decel point is located there. Let's see if that is going to work out. I will let it fly that approach completely managed, and then we'll have to wait and see to get an impression on it. So sure enough, in the real world, if I saw this, I would, especially if I saw that steep of an angle here in order to get onto the final approach. We do have a couple destinations in my airline with the A330 where we do fly approaches like this, where you establish it at such a sharp angle. And I would absolutely not fly something like that at a high speed. So I'd probably take it down to something like 180 knots, especially looking at the wind over here, which is going to turn tailwind on this part over here. But one thing I can tell you is it's going to fly the turn like this if it does it correctly. I mean, it's never going to be able to fly this. At least not without doing an Immelmann. So let's see how nav is going to solve that thing. But for sure this speed we're going to make an overshoot like that. In the real world, as I mentioned, we would absolutely intervene at this point. In the sim, I just want to see how the plane is going to do things like that. Why is it showing 3.3 to the right? Okay, here we go. Let's see what it's going to do now. Is it just turning anywhere? I mean, look at that. It tells me the Fox India is at track 159. That's incorrect. It's at track like 100 or so. Maybe that's the explanation why it just flies into Nirvana at the moment. Hold start. Okay, 0.8 to the right. That seems about correct. By the way, why don't we receive an ILS indication here? That looks pretty wrong. 108.1. Oh, it didn't tune anything. Interesting. Well, in that case, I tell you what, I can't be bothered. Well, yes, I can be bothered. Let's just see if we can get that right somehow. No, no, don't turn left, don't turn left. Okay, basic Airbus autoflight system theory. When you pull the heading knob and then rotate it to the right, the Airbus is in any case going to make a right-hand turn. It is never going to make that a left-hand turn. Never. The reason is rather simple. Because you rotate to the right, the plane turns to the right. Basic Airbus logic. Okay, let's get the Navigraph charts. I have a feeling it just didn't tune the ILS frequency at all. Oh, bad performance here. Okay, charts uploaded, performance is good again. I mean, the mileage seems to be about correct. I mean, almost at least. 2 miles difference, that might just be a DME standing at the wrong side of the runway. The wrong end of the runway. That happens. Okay, well. Search. We're looking for Lima, Oscar, Whiskey, Whiskey. Vienna. Charts. Approach. ILS 11. $1085. Yeah, so it did tune the wrong frequency. So it should be Oscar Echo Zulu. Yeah, that looks better. Why didn't it do that on its own? Because that is what Airbus should do. Then we got Walkaround VOR, which is right over here on the final approach fix. Well, we are just going to establish ourselves via Walkaround now. And the minimum then, if we got it open already, 797. Okay. Well, well. I'm not entirely convinced whether I want to close my charts, but let's do it. Right, here comes a glide slope at least. That is some good indications for the day. Make a right-hand turn. Come on, heading buck, you can't be serious. Here you go. Give me 060. Actually 070. Where's the VOR? Yeah, that looks good. Like this we should be able to establish perfectly fine. What's our fuel doing, by the way? Yeah, if we maintain flying like this, it's just half an hour left. This also looks interesting, by the way. 0.7 to get to the alternate, 10 minutes. Kinda doubt it with the go around in the middle. Let's just keep it like that, and let's commit to landing here in Vienna. Because I have a feeling that alternate fuel is not realistic at all. We just keep it going like this. Alright, quite a bit of tailwind here, so let's start the right hand turn, looking for an intercept heading of 120, and we're just going to descend to 4000 here. First idle open descent out 4000 blue. Flight director is completely wrong there, commanding a descent like that. I mean, the autopilot seems to also mess it up, because it starts accelerating. That is not what it's supposed to do. We just went through the localizer, okay. But I pressed the approach button a bit too late. I take that on myself. That's okay. I was just completely stunned by the flight director and by what the airplane did here. I mean, why did it accelerate? There is no reason for it to accelerate. Let's see if we can catch the ILS out of 4000. We might have to go a little bit lower there to 3.5 or something the likes. Tell you what, let's do that now. Let's see that open descent one more time. This time we're mentally prepared for it. Oh, but it doesn't go into it. Now it does. How often did I have to pull this? Like 10 times? Look at that flight director. I mean, it should just maintain the airspeed and idle thrust. That should give me a gentle 1000 feet a minute rate of descent. Why is it going 2000 feet a minute? It doesn't make sense. Okay, well, lock star, at least that means it's going to catch glide slope in a few moments. Alt. Glide slope star. We're on altitude 5000 set. That should turn white, by the way. Lock. Man, this is interesting. Glide slope. Yeah, we're going rather fast here. Flaps 2. Eject, flaps 2. So it shouldn't develop much drag with this. Just a little bit, that's preventing it from accelerating. That looks pretty correct, I'd say. Right then, gear down.
$2,500.
Right. Alright, and now with the drag, that is, or with the landing gear, that is where the drag comes in. So this is looking much better. Rate of deceleration, yeah. With that tailwind, it's okay that it's not decelerating. That's 3. With that tailwind, that seems quite okay. Why is the cabin not ready? Do we really have to call them? We do. Oh boy. I already did a video explaining why that is not very realistic. Okay, and flaps full. This is just to help it lose a bit of speed now. We are going to change the config for landing. Interesting behavior. 3 degrees nose down. Speed is barely coming back. And why is the low speed? Are they serious? Come on. Why is the Alpha Protection and Alpha Max that close? Well, why is the target speed 130?
1,000.
Okay. That seemed rather slow to me. But okay, they say so. So let's see, at 500 we gotta be stable. I really don't want to go around. I have a feeling that that is not going to end very well. By the way, interesting to see where the wind is still coming from. And it's turning now into a headwind. That's pretty interesting flying that approach. Oh yeah, here we go. Now we've got the headwind. Okay, well, here we go. That's interesting. The entire approach is interesting. Let's call it that way. The entire flight is. Land. Okay, let's do that ourselves now. Pad 1.
200. Minimum.
Continue. So, wind is going to swing to the right and lose a bit of strength before
100.
we actually touch down. And I need huge inputs on my
50,
side stick.
40. 30. 20. Retard.
Come on.
Retard.
Yeah, if I retard at
10.
that height... Why doesn't it descend, by the way?
5.
My pitch should be more than adequate. Okay. And it touched down on 5. Beautiful. Alright. Well, spoiler, reverse green, decel. 70 knots. Pretty touchy on the rudder. It's pretty very touchy on the rudder there. Okay. Manual brakes. We'll take the next exit. And then we'll steam to the terminal. Let's see if it will at least be able to do single-engine taxi. Timer started, looking for 3 minutes. Waiting for a good moment to do the after-landing procedure now, and long straight line, here it is. Inverted click spot right there. So 10 knots for the turn. Lights coming off. We'll start the APU when we've got 2 minutes on the timer so that we don't run the APU for too long. After landing checklist, radar and predictive wind shear off. After landing checklist complete. So, if we can start summarizing a little bit already, then I really gotta say that I remembered this airplane in a very, very positive way. Really have to say that. I didn't remember any details about it, but I do remember that back in the day when this came out with the Sim Update 14 beta, I was actually pretty impressed with it, and I really liked it. But I have to say that this flight now was not great, not at all. The plane constantly acted up. It felt like a very early beta, and not like something that's going to release in a couple days' time. And there were so many issues in the system all over, even though they've had several months now to work on bugs and improve it, but it looks like nothing happened. Nothing at all. It just really looks like the plane is, well, still messed up. Well, not still, but it is messed up, because it didn't used to be. It was an okay aircraft when we first got it, and now it's got all these issues that it can't fly turns correctly, it sequences waypoints where it's not supposed to, it takes a lot more input on the side stick than what it is supposed to take in order to fly properly. It doesn't taxi the way I would expect it to taxi. Well, it's just trying to look for nice words here that won't mean that iniBuilds is going to quit any relations with me in the future, but let's be completely frank here. This is a mess right now, and releasing this in a couple days' time, like, where are the beta testers? Didn't they test anything? Otherwise, how can they decide to release this? Imagine you're a newbie to flight simulation. Imagine you don't have a lot of ideas about airliners, and imagine that you buy Microsoft Flight Simulator, you're kind of an enthusiast, but you don't have any detailed knowledge about aircraft. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to straight away buy a high fidelity simulation like the Phoenix A320, or are you going to go for the aircraft that are included with the simulator in first place? Well, obviously you will go for what is included in the simulator in first place. And now imagine you've got somebody who's basically got no idea of commercial aviation, and who just wants to get into it, who wants to, you know, learn a little bit from this. Well, what are these guys going to take away from an add-on like this coming with a sim? They will just completely give up. They will be like, well, I can't get it to work, and I'm just resigning because, you know, because it's no fun. And that is exactly what we shouldn't see in this community. Well, let's do single engine taxi, see if that works at least. But that is exactly what we should not see. People giving up because they think like, yeah, I can't get it right anyway. Well, the thing is, if the add-on worked correctly, then an Airbus really isn't that complicated of a machine to fly. At least not for the basic pilot input, assuming that nothing can go wrong, assuming that, you know, you've got a situation like here in the simulator where basically it's, you know, nothing can go wrong, no technical difficulties, and so on. So, in such an environment, having an airplane that just doesn't work, and that just doesn't work to this bad of a standard there. I mean, imagine if that guy departed Innsbruck, but with a little bit less climb rate, and all of a sudden the airplane goes 1.5 miles off to the right into the mountains. Do that in IMC, the guy doesn't expect anything because he doesn't know how to read charts, because he doesn't have charts, and then all of a sudden a mountain comes out of the cloud and you bang right into it. I mean, maybe if they delivered the Germanwings livery with it? No, that was a bad joke, I do apologize for that, but you get where I'm going with this. This is pretty much what a new simmer is going to feel like, and that is exactly the feeling that they should not come across when somebody tries to enter the flight simulation hobby, but that is exactly what people will come across when they get default aircraft that got bugs like this. I do obviously know that back in the day in FSX, well, default aircraft used to be much worse than this, but come on, I mean, if you're just about to release this, you've had a 3-month delay now anyway. Why not just take another month or so and then solve those bugs? Because that is really how you would regain trust from your favorite customer. By the way, last but not least, a quick word on single engine taxi while we conduct it. You can see how I'm losing speed while I'm rolling along like that. We are losing speed much quicker here than we should. So that should really go a little bit slower. You should keep the speed for a longer time, but okay. At least we could turn over the live engine on our way into the gate, so that's that, you know. At least that's a bit of a positive story there. Hydraulic, blue electric pump off, blue system low pressure. Yeah, guess what? I just shut down the systems, my friend. Are you serious? Oh well. I can't be bothered. I likewise don't know why we're getting an ECAP caution when I'm just following normal shutdown procedures, but I suppose I don't even want to know. It just emphasizes what I just said, you know. This makes newbies feel like they're doing something wrong, which they aren't. So, well, a newbie probably would not have known how to do a direct to, and thus the flight would have been over when the plane went in circles over Innsbruck, and then just kept flying to the wrong direction, you know. Parking checklist. Parking record shocks, brake set, engines off, wing light off, fuel pumps off, parking checklist complete. Alright, so I just gave you a pretty conclusive verdict already, I would say. But if I do need to give you some final opinion here, then maybe we can do it that way. The iniBuilds A320neo is, or used to be, good when they first put it into the beta. Now, back then, it seemed to include pirated code from the fly-by-wire A320, and that pirated code seems to have been removed now, because those parts, particularly that was the Autopilot, LNAV, VNAV, autopilot modes, and that part is much, much worse now. So what I can conclude over here seems to be that they hastily removed that code, didn't invest any time into developing new code, and well, here we sit with an airplane that is looking awesome, sounding good, but system-wise, we encountered so many bugs in the autoflight system now that I would really say pull it off the beta once again, go and fix it, and then maybe release it with FS24 or with Sim Update 16, whatever is going to come. But in my opinion, this is really not in the shape where it should be released to customers, to the general audience, because it just doesn't hold up. And that's probably my final verdict on this video. I'm sorry I couldn't bring you anything better. I'm sorry we couldn't do the promised Batman flight. But this is really it. This is all I can say about this one. So, thank you for watching. I do hope that nonetheless you enjoyed the video and that you at least learned to keep the fly-by-wire Airbus and to keep holding it in high value, because it is freeware and it is so much more awesome. But yeah, now let me know your opinion in the comments below. Let me know if you've flown the beta and if you encountered similar issues. And last but not least, if you're up for more, hopefully on better aircraft then, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for watching, and I see you all again on the next one.